Welcome to Learning Across Kansas. I'm your host, Cindy Couchman. Learning Across Kansas is a joint partnership between the Kansas State Department of Education and the Kansas Public Broadcasting Service. Today's episode is on creative thinking and innovation, and what speaks more than creativity than being in an artist studio. And I'm with Marcia, the director of the Red Barn Studio, which is the home of Lester Raymer, who was an artist. And what made Lester Raymer so unique, his work so unique, Marcia?
Raymer was unique in that almost everything that he did was out of recycled materials.
Wow. So you have some examples here, Marcia. Can you give us an example of that, some recycled materials?
Yes, the Cyrano de Bergerac. It's a puppet that Raymer made for his wife, Ramona, and it's made out of chair parts, abacus beads. Raymer sewed the clothes out of discontinued drapery and upholstery samples that were given to him.
Wow, that combines creativity and innovation at the time. And I think we're going to go look at another piece of artwork. So not only did he use recycled materials to create things, he also has this beautiful oil painting. Marcia, what is the name of this beautiful oil painting?
This painting is called The Drummer Boy. Raymer was a professional painter, and this is a good example of early Picasso and Raymer's work.
Thank you, Marcia. I hope you stopped by the Red Barn Studio in Lindsborg. It has amazing artwork here. So let's learn from teachers all over Kansas on creative thinking and innovation. We'll start with Kara Ballou in Andover on innovative leadership. Then go to DeSoto with Kyle Heileman on finding your passion. Then we'll travel to Gardner Edgerton with Shannon Ralph and Derek Stockman on 3D printing. Stan Burkamp from Mays will share from the Cosmosphere, the SR-71. Sam Neal and Bueller will teach us about sketchnoting. Erica Shook and McPherson will learn about being creative with pour painting. Kelly Holting from Eskridge will learn about food science. And we'll close with Cheryl De La Cruz in Topeka on problem solving using coding and robotics. So first, let's travel to Andover with Kara Ballou.
Thank you, Cindy. Innovation and creativity are all about leadership. Not that tell somebody what to do stuff, that's management. Leadership is mobilizing others to do difficult work. Lifelong learning keeps you sharp, so I've been working with the Kansas Leadership Center lately, and we're going to look at their 5 principles of leadership. Leadership is an activity, not a position. Anyone can lead, anytime, anywhere. It starts with you and must engage others. Your purpose must be clear, and it's risky. In other words, you don't have to be old to lead. You don't have to be hired, fired, or selected to lead. So go for it. We're going to look at the 4 competencies that go with those 5 principles, and we're going to look at 2 in particular. Diagnose the situation and manage self. So let's look at diagnose the situation. Let's use an example of a pothole. So a manager would say, go fix the pothole. An expert goes out, fixes the pothole. Solution. That's a technical challenge. But the adaptive challenge is deeper. It's systemic. So the adaptive challenge for a pothole would be, was it weather? Was it a change in traffic patterns? Was it heavy equipment? Was it funding or budgets? Who knows? There's not one solution to an adaptive challenge. Most of what we deal with as leaders are adaptive challenges. So we have to manage ourselves. You have to make sure you're healthy, mentally, physically, spiritually, but you also have to make sure that you're true to yourself. So if you speak from the heart, then you'll always be true to yourself. The other 2 are energize others and intervene skillfully. All 4 are necessary if you're going to mobilize people to do difficult work. Lead, learn, love what you do. Yes. Leadership can be risky, but it's worth it. And we need you to lead. Now let's go look at some examples, starting with Mr. Heilman in DeSoto.
Hello. Inside each and every one of us is a spark, a flame, an ember, and it grows. It's your passion, your dreams, your hopes, your desires. It's your creativity. It's also your uniqueness. If you look at yourself as a human being, your fingerprints are the only set like them anywhere on the planet ever, or that ever will be. Your retina inside your eye, the blood vessels, are unique to you. Your iris, the colored part of your eye, is unique to you. Even your ears are the only ears like that anywhere on the planet. You are unique. Your voice matters. And we need you to find your passion. We all know people whose spark for life, their passion for learning has burned out. And it's a tragedy for all of us. We need everybody to contribute, to create, to dream, to do something to make the world a better place. Your flame inside of you matters. If you give me 100 kindergartners, cute little kids, and say, how many of you are artists? Every single one will be creative and tell you they're an artist. But if you give me that same set of children as seniors in high school, 12th graders, how many of you consider yourselves artists, creators, makers? Less than 10%. Because that flame that you see here starts to dwindle. It starts to go out because they've lost their passion for creating things and using their ideas. Synergy is probably the most powerful thing in our universe. It's your ideas mixed with other people's ideas and creativity to create things that could not happen alone. We need each other. We need your ideas. We need you literally to dream. We need you to create. We need you to share your passion with the world around you. And we need you to get excited about making the world a better place. Your voice matters. Share your voice. Make a difference. I challenge you to find your uniqueness and share it with the world.
Kansas school buildings may be closed for the remainder of the academic year, but school is still in session. Keeping students engaged in the learning process during this extraordinary time is critical for their ongoing success. We salute our teachers, parents, and guardians who are committed to ensuring their students finish this year strong. We're all ready for our lives to get back to normal, but until that time, Kansas students, keep learning and keep working towards your goals. Together, Kansans can.
Creativity and synergy. Those two concepts came together when the community of Lindsborg came up with the idea of using the Dala horse as their Swedish identity and welcome. There are 33 Dala horses located in this town, each one hand-painted by a local artist and has a theme. This one is Yankee Doodle Dala. Very creative, and I'm going to show you some more throughout this episode. We head now to Gardner Edgerton with Shannon Ralph and Derek Stockton, where we'll hear about 3D printing.
Hello and thank you. One of the challenges of earth science is size limitations and inaccessibility of the locality. Often the best place for performing geology research is at the place where the rocks are left in situ, or in their original location. This becomes a problem when the research sites are either very far away or otherwise inaccessible. And sometimes the localities are just too large to really bring into, or to really study all at one time. So we can use innovation and technology to bring them into the classroom and make them easier to study. One example of this is 3D print technology. We can use a 3D printer to take topographical data and input it or turn it into a model like this one. Now this is a bathymetric model of Lake Ontario. The flat surface here is the water level, and then down below you can see the edge of the lake, or the edge of the rock that holds the water in. Now we can use this kind of technology to not only study topography and bathymetry, but we can use it to study changes in technology or changes in elevation over time. Another type of technology that we can use to change the way that we do geology work is this right here. Now this is an augmented reality sandbox. We can take technology like this and bring it into the classroom where there is a sensor and a projector and it picks up the level of the sand inside the box and in real time adjusts the topographical lines inside the map. Now this is how we can not only make topography and bathymetry very accessible to students and to student learning, but we can also take this technology and study very large land features. So if we use this 3D model of Lake Ontario in conjunction with the augmented reality sandbox, you can press this into the sand, remove it, and you're left with an imprint showing you the exact topography of Lake Ontario. We can use this in the future for studying topography of Mars and even beyond that. Thank you.
I am super excited today to be coming to you from the Kansas Cosmosphere in Hutchinson. The theme of this show is innovation, and if there's ever a plane that exemplifies innovation in terms of its design, manufacturing, and performance, it's this big plane behind me, the SR-71 Blackbird. The SR-71 was designed as a reconnaissance platform to be used as surveillance to film high altitude flights over different countries. So to give you an idea of its performance, so the plane was designed to fly at 85,000 feet, which is about 3 times higher than a normal jetliner cruises at, and would actually cruise at 2,100 miles per hour, which is about 3.3 times faster than the speed of sound. So to give you an idea of how fast that is, if you were to fly from Hutchinson to Wichita at 2,100 miles per hour, that would take you about a minute and a half. So when you're flying at that speed and that altitude, the surfaces would get really, really hot, and they would heat up to about 1,000 degrees. So when metal gets heated up, it expands. And so when they designed the plane, they would actually leave gaps in the fuel tanks, because when they would heat up at altitude at a cruising speed, that metal would expand and it would seal it up. So the plane would actually leak fuel when it was sitting on the tarmac, and then once it got up to altitude, it would seal itself off. So even when you look at these cones that are in front of the engines, those cones were adjustable so that they could regulate the amount of flow that was going into it. The plane actually incorporated titanium. So at the time, titanium was difficult to obtain because it came out of the Soviet Union. So the CIA even got innovative, and they would set up shell companies to purchase the titanium from Russia to get into the United States. So if you're ever in Hutchinson and you want to see a whole bunch of innovation, stop by the Kansas Cosmosphere.
Hey parents, you're doing great! With Kansas school buildings closed and homes being turned into classrooms, parents and caregivers have expanded their roles in their students' learning. This is a new experience for most of us, so let's show one another a little grace. When you and your students start to feel overwhelmed or stressed, take a break. It's really okay. Keeping students interested and engaged in learning is the key to success. Remember, you have an entire community of fellow caregivers and teachers to lean on. Reach out. Together, Kansans can.
Talk about innovation. This is a very innovative dollar horse. This is called the Old Gray Dollar Mare, and it is sponsored by the Lindsborg Senior Center. If you look at this dollar horse, it has all things featured around the Senior Center. Can you make the connection between each piece of artwork on this dollar horse and the senior citizens? To learn about more creativity, taking notes, we're going to go to Sam Neal in Buhler to learn about sketchnoting.
So we've been talking about creativity and innovation, and I want to talk about a creative way to take notes called sketchnoting. So what exactly is sketchnoting? Sketchnoting is a form of visual note-taking. Don't worry if you don't feel like you're a very good artist. You don't have to be. It's process over pretty. Mistakes are okay. In order to sketchnote, you need to be able to do 6 different things. Draw shapes, people, lettering, lines, connectors, and containers. If you can do this, you can sketchnote. Let's start with shapes. You need to be able to draw squares, circles, triangles, lines, and dots. From these different shapes, you can draw so many objects. Next, let's talk about people. If stick figures are up your alley, then this is the type of drawing for you. Notice that they've got anything from a stick body to a circle body or a square body. They're even waving at each other. I was able to do that just by adding little squigglies by their hands, and notice their hands are just a loop-de-loop. Something that takes a lot of practice for me is lettering. Look at all the ways that you can write the letter A. Lines also help keep our sketchnoting organized, from straight lines to wavy lines, zigzags, or even patterned lines. And if you want to add some extra emphasis, add more lines. Connectors also help us link our ideas together, from spider diagrams to lists with bullets, speech bubbles, thought bubbles, icons, and even arrows. Oftentimes, adding connectors can be done after the fact. The final details are containers. These help frame important information. So let's try an example. What might sketchnoting look like? On July 4th, 1776, 56 delegates signed the Declaration of Independence. When I think of the 4th of July, I think of firecrackers. I wrote 1776 in a little fancier font. I drew a container around 56, replaced delegates with people, a pen, and a scroll. So get creative with your note-taking. I'm going to send it up the road to Erica Shook.
Thanks, Sam. You often hear your English teachers talk about things like tone and mood and imagery when you are talking about word choice, right, that authors use in their books or their poetry. But there are other creative ways that you can convey tone and mood, and Ryder and I are here to show you one of those. Alright, the first thing we need to do is mix up our paint. So the amount of paint that you're going to use is entirely dependent on the size of your canvas. We are probably going to put in about ½ an inch of each of our colors of paint. Okay, you're going to mix equal parts paint and pouring medium into your cup. Once you have those all mixed, we're going to take our water repellent and spray the top of each of those colors of paint a couple times. And we're going to take another empty cup. We're going to layer our paints in. We're going to spray it too. All right, whatever color of paint you put in your layering cup first is the one that's going to end up on top, because we're going to turn this over. Okay, so decide which color you want on the bottom, which colors you want on top. You can see here that we've used darker colors for this one. Okay, we are going to start with gray. Okay, so we're going to pour our gray in here. Now it's time for the fun part. We're going to take our pouring medium and we're going to pour it all over our canvas like this. This is going to help our paint run. Okay, now Ryder's going to help me smear it around. Spread it all over your canvas. Make sure you get down the sides and around the edges. Our canvases are dry now. What mood or image does each conjure for you? Do the canvases cause different feelings?
King Oscar and I look forward to seeing what creative canvas you post on Twitter using the hashtag LearningAcrossKansas. Thank you, Erica, for that wonderful challenge and demonstration of pour painting. We are now going to go to Eskridge with Kelly Holting to learn about creative baking in the food science classes.
Innovation and creation in career and technical education comes from the teachers bringing academics to life in our lessons. One of the best teachers in Kansas to do that is Lee Weiss, ag teacher at El Saline High School. Lee, can you tell us some ways that you bring innovation and creation into your lessons there at school.
One of the things that I've always learned from in my experience of working with students over the past several decades is that students like to be involved in their educational process. One of the things that I try to include is hands-on activities that allows the students to learn by doing. And in that process, one of the things that I came up with was taking an item that falls into our everyday lives, such as food, and making it a part of the science world.
So let's check and see how this would look in our own home.
I am making the classic pound cake.
The control: butter, flour, sugar, and eggs.
The variable I substituted was for eggs. I substituted applesauce for eggs.
And why would you substitute for eggs?
2 reasons. One could be because you're allergic to eggs, like I used to be. The other reason could be is you want a more plant-based cake rather than a more animal-based cake.
Our experiment: applesauce instead of eggs. So the greatest thing about food science is that not only do we get to experiment and imagine, we also get to taste our product. So you can see what our control looks like and what our egg replacer looks like. Not quite the same, but now we get to figure out why. So I challenge you to figure out your own food science experiments. If you want to use the pound cake, it's a perfect way to maybe try that applesauce, replace that butter with a plant-based product. Maybe we try a sweetener instead of the sugar, or even go gluten-free instead of our wheat flour.
These all enabled my students to look at the scientific method, but yet bring it home to them to where they were using real-life products and real-life scenarios.
Next time that you do a food science experiment, share with us on Twitter or Facebook with the hashtag #LearningAcrossKansas, #FoodScience, and see what it is that you can imagine. Innovation and creation are all around us. Let's send it to Shariel in Topeka to see what innovations they can find.
Nowadays, toys have become innovative as well, just like this one. This is not an ordinary toy. It's a robot that you can program or code to function like this. And to tell us more about coding and robotics, here's Jess.
Coding and robotics has gotten really popular over the last couple of years. Being able to use robots in the classroom has really motivated a lot of students to want to learn more about math and science. Traditionally, robots have been controlled using a remote control. But today, we're going to be setting up a program on the tablet to be able to control our robot using coding. Here, I've set up a simple maze for our robot. You might think you could use a remote control to easily maneuver around the cups, but what if you wanted to solve the puzzle over and over again, even when you're not around? Well, I could code the exact movements he needs to make, and this involves measuring the distance and the angle the robot needs to take. I input the commands into the program and the robot executes them. The best part of all of this is there is no exact solution. I could do the experiment 1,000 times in different ways, and each time incrementally make things more efficient. When inputting the code, I have many decisions to make based on the measurements I've made. There are many different options, but today I'm only focusing on the movement of the robot and the angles of his turn. As the robot moves through the maze, many questions come up. What are the best angles the robot could take? If we make it go faster, would it be more efficient? Would he knock over cups and just go out of control? What is the ideal speed? These are the questions engineers have to ask constantly when trying to solve the world's problems.
Distance, time, speed, angles, rotations, relationships, functions where there's input and output. These are some essential math concepts involved in coding. But that's not it. It goes beyond that. Decision making, logical and critical thinking, problem solving, these are all absolutely necessary to code and in order for the robot to perform its task. Have you problem solved today? If so, then you have used a math skill.
I hope you've enjoyed creative thinking and innovation on this episode. I know creative thinking went into putting a big old face mask on this Dollahorse, protecting him from COVID-19. Thank you for tuning in to Learning Across Kansas. Learning Across Kansas is a joint partnership between the Kansas State Department of Education and the Kansas Public Broadcasting Service. I'm your host, Cindy Couchman.